move on to our final presentation, ladies and gentlemen, actually, just to speak to us very briefly on this topic, we had the Ministry of Health scheduled to come and speak to us on HIV, but we're very fortunate this afternoon because we've got Mr. Koong, William Koong, no stranger to us, physio for High Performance Unit, Flying Fijians and Drua, and very familiar with this topic as well, ladies and gentlemen. So because he was here, he agreed to come and speak to us briefly. So he doesn't have a presentation, but please, can we give him a big round of applause?
Hello everyone. Sorry, I'm not a specialist in this topic here. What I'd like to talk to you again about is the HIV awareness in sports. This is big. The increase in HIV in Fiji has increased, you know. Our numbers were almost beating Papua New Guinea and Australia per capita, which is a worry. Why are we worried about HIV and sexually transmitted infections in rugby players? You've heard from the previous speakers. One is about drugs, alcohol. This is what our players get to after playing rugby. They start off with drinking grog, then they go on to alcohol. Then, you know, the new inclusion with drugs now in Fiji. This is a new thing that people like to try, and this is what's been said along the place with our drug abuse in Fiji. So the importance about HIV awareness, and when we talk about sexually transmitted infection, is, you know, with most of our players, they get drunk, they forget what they do, which is in all honesty. And when they forget what they do, they lead to go in having unprotected sex. And the problem here in the Pacific and in Fiji is the taboo. We don't talk about this widely and openly with the players. And this is something that we need to address with everybody. With the increase of sexually transmitted infection, we have this in players. They play rugby, they come up. The thing is, they are protected, so we can't talk about it and say, you've got this, you've got that. That's in the Ministry of Health. What we've seen is there is an increase in number in sexually transmitted infection, and you start to think, does that lead to HIV? And so the awareness needs to start with everybody sitting in this room, being able to open up and talk to people about HIV and how it leads. So with HIV, if someone has got the virus, what happens with them, you know, in rugby? Rugby is a contact sport. People bleed. You take big knocks, there's blood over there, there's open wounds. So what we have to be careful of is, if there is someone that has contracted the virus, would they be safe out there on the rugby pitch with an open injury? There has been a lot of research done around this area, and this is something that is looked into. I'm not really familiar with the research in this particular area, but the one thing that we would like to talk about is making sure that there is awareness. And awareness starts with everybody opening up with discussions. For all of you sitting down here, union reps, has anyone opened up and spoken to the players about sexually transmitted infections? Wundo e lakali vital no takavaterto na nonra ndongito on a timi about this topic. The quietness leads to us believing that it's a taboo topic, you know? We don't open ourselves up to talking about it. And what happens is the people that are greatly involved, which is our players, are at risk of getting it. So the responsibility lays within each individual in here to go out, preach about it, ask the players, educate them. You know? The big thing is, in the Drua, what we've set up in the Drua is, we are worried about our players, so what we do, we know we can educate them, but what else can we do? We put out condoms readily available for them. It doesn't say that because you're married, you don't use the condoms, but being out there for everybody that are promiscuous. It's not to say that players are promiscuous, but there's always that opportunity for them to have that. And this is the thing that leads to unprotected sex, could lead to HIV. The other one that you can have heard is from the drugs awareness team, the inclusion of drugs now, and they call Bluetooth and all those things. Those are another things. You know, they're using one needle to prick to pass on. That's another area they're thin. So anything with an open wound, and the other person that has contracted it with an open wound, they touch you, that can go into you. So the big question that we need to ask is, should we be testing our players? Who agrees on should we be testing our players? We can't do compulsory testing because it is part of their rights to say no to that. So as an institution, all we can do is go out and preach the awareness of HIV and sexually transmitted infections in the community. That's it from me. Is there any questions from anyone? Sorry, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Ministry of Health. I'm speaking on the experience that we face in our day-to-day and the knowledge that we have of this disease in the Fiji.